Hi there, I'm Amanda Turkey and I'm currently the school librarian at Albert Einstein Middle School in Sacramento. I'm speaking with you today because there has become a huge need within our school community for database and research skills to be explicitly taught to students. This presentation serves as a proposal to implement a unit of instruction to be undertaken initially by both 7th and 8th grade students at the beginning of the school year. The intention is that this unit will teach students research skills, the use of database resources, how to use internet-based resources. They will have a look at reliability and accuracy, and they will learn by the end also how to cite evidence. The need for instruction stems from two main sources. First, there is the school district's adoption of the California Common Core state standards. As the district moves forward in its adoption of the Common Core standards, there is a new robust emphasis on preparing students for college and career readiness. The adoption of these new standards also involves deeper literacy collaboration across subject curriculums. There are 10 anchor standards which inform the English language arts, history, and science curriculums. And throughout these, there is the highlighted need for evidence-based learning with the expectation that students are able to gather and synthesize information in support of their claims and in order to verify their reasoning skills. Additionally, the school itself is required to reflect on best practice and to formulate a school development and improvement plan which details whole school objectives and priorities designed to increase academic rigor and positive school culture. Within both of these arenas, at the state and district level, as well as at the individual school site, there is a need for research skills to become a paramount part of the curriculum. And looking at how this unit of instruction aligns with the Common Core standards, there are three key pieces to examine. First, with the Common Core standards informing teaching practice, there is a much stronger and more urgent emphasis on students being able to present information and arguments based on evidence that stems from well-designed queries. Second, one of the key design considerations of the Common Core state standards is that research and media skills are blended into the standards as a whole. So then rather than treating research and media skills as a separate section as they had done in the past, they are currently embedded into the standards because of the belief that to be ready for college, workforce training, and life in a technological society, students need the ability to gather, comprehend, evaluate, synthesize, and summarize information and ideas, to conduct original research, to answer questions or solve problems, and to analyze and create a high volume and extensive range of print and non-print texts in media forms, old and new. And last, in describing the profile of a student who is college and career ready, there is an increasing call for the use of not only evidence but also the understanding of digital and technological resources in order to effectively navigate the rigors of professional life and higher education. Two of the main descriptors out of 7 from the California Common Core state standards stress these two valuable skill sets. First, they value evidence. So students need to be able to cite specific evidence when offering an oral or written interpretation of a text. They use relevant evidence when supporting their own points in writing and speaking, making their reasoning clear to the reader or listener, and they constructively evaluate each other's use of evidence. One of the other profiles of a college and career ready student is that they use technology and digital media strategically and capably. So students should be able to employ technology thoughtfully to enhance their reading, writing, speaking, listening, and language use. They are able to tailor their searches online to acquire useful information efficiently, and they integrate what they learn through technology with what they learn offline. They are familiar with the strengths and limitations of various technological tools and media and can select and use those best suited to their communication goals. The need for instruction is also exhibited in the school site's 2013-2014 School Development and Improvement Plan. In it, the whole school's first priority is to increase academic rigor for all students through all departments and curricular areas. The need to teach research and database skills is clearly seen in the action plan. One of the school's goals in increasing academic rigor is to use 5 research-based instructional focus areas school-wide. Within the action plan, there is a concerted effort to focus instruction through the lens of the library, incorporating writing, technology, cooperative learning, and building resources which support library use by making it an information-rich center of learning which supports academic rigor in all content areas. The proposed research database skills instruction would facilitate in meeting the actions and goals outlined in the School Development and Improvement Program, and it would foster learning within the focus areas through their dissemination and use in the classroom. Additionally, my role as the school librarian and as a former middle school and high school English teacher equips me to lead these lessons because not only do I know how to access the information, but I also know how to put it into context in the writing that would be done in the classrooms. In formulating my unit of instruction, I wanted to have clear and simple instructional goals that both the students and teaching staff could understand. The instructional goals that I developed for this unit of study include developing awareness of internet-based resources with an emphasis on databases available for student use. Students would also learn the vocabulary and terminology associated with the technology. And the reasoning behind this is that students must be able to conduct research and find reliable information in order to succeed with school assignments. It will become a cornerstone for accessing information for the more complex and rigorous research demanded in high school, university, and professional settings. After I have come up with these instructional goals, it's important also to obtain consensus on the goals. This is a unit of study that would be used cross-curricularly, not just in the library, and it's important to have the input of all those who would be involved, basically all stakeholders, in trying to figure out the best instructional goals to suit the needs of each of the classroom environments. So the goals would be based on the knowledge of the California Common Core State Standards, and they would be produced in consultation with the English, history, and technology teachers within the school. As well, I would want the head of curriculum for the school to be involved, and I would want to obtain peer review from other school librarians. In analyzing the goals, they can be measured by taking a pre-learning survey and comparing it to a post-learning survey. Formative and summative assessments can be made through the learning activities and through future assignments where the use of these skills will be needed to complete an assignment. In developing the instructional strategy for this unit of work, I found this comic strip, which I thought was pretty hilarious, considering that one of the hardest things to do after developing a plan of instruction is presenting it in an engaging and enlightening way that will be motivating for the students. One of the things that I also had to take into consideration were the learner requirements and trying to piece together my instructional strategy. And for this particular unit of study, all students would be required to participate in this class. The teacher librarian would assess understanding and skill level prior to the lessons and as the students transition from a paper and pencil environment into a technological one. The class size would be limited to a physical classroom and computer lab and would not exceed 35 students. In order to make learning activities engaging and stimulating to a wide variety of learner characteristics, there would be a combination of whole class instruction, group exercises, and independent exercises. I basically went over the learner requirements in my last slide, discussing that this would be a class size limited to 35 students that would take place in a classroom and a computer lab. One of the things that makes these series of lessons a little bit more difficult is the fact that it is in a school setting. So students would be required to participate in the lessons regardless of whether they were motivated to be there or not. But I do want them to be motivated. So I believe that explicitly explaining the rationale for the class and the intended outcomes will encourage students to do their best. I've even thought about the idea of using electronic badges, and they will hopefully see the value in what they're being taught and understand the practical applications. Students are usually largely incentivized when they know that computers are involved. Some of the entry behaviors that students must have in coming into these lessons is that they must have keyboarding skills and they must be able to use basic navigation skills when accessing the school's website and the web. Specifically, they must be able to log on to the computers, providing their username and password, and they must be able to access the internet and use their mouse. In meeting the performance objectives, students must demonstrate that they are familiar with and can comfortably navigate school and public library databases for the purposes of research. I hate to do this to you, but I will read through what the performance objectives are for this unit. They need to understand what databases are used for, understand how databases are structured, become familiar with some of the technical vocabulary used for databases, know the differences and similarities between database searches and web-based searches, demonstrate which type of search is more appropriate and more efficient for different types of queries, demonstrate understanding of the different research databases the school accesses and the types of information that are contained in each. They need to be able to find information that will help with school assignments, limit or expand a search using the words and, or not, and cite the information correctly from a database. Information presentation, learner participation, and instructional materials are all vital components of having students not only learn but retain the information that you are trying to get across in your lessons. I've included this graphic of these three little boys because they are indicative of a study that Professor Albert Mehrabian did looking at research on how we take in information during a presentation. And his conclusion was that only 7% of text materials do we actually take in. 55% of the information we take in is visual, with 38% being vocal. And this plays in beautifully to what's going to be happening in this series of lessons. Because in this lesson, or in this unit, there are several culminating lessons which will lead to students meeting the objectives of the lessons. Students will need a rich and varied learning experience that involves using several different types of instructional materials that will meet the diverse learning styles of the population. So for example, we're going to look at things that would meet the needs for our kinesthetic, our visual, our auditory learners. We're going to look for opportunities to make it participatory. And in keeping with the intended audience, which is a middle school students who attend a Title I school, there need to be instructional materials that are easy to use and easy to access. If students are presented with technologies that they've never been taught how to use or that they have never used before, it becomes really frustrating and it hampers the achievement of the actual learning objectives, slows down the whole process, and in my personal experience, it disengages the learner from the content that they might previously have been motivated to learn. So for these students, I propose a variation of 1 to group lecture, printed material, presentation slides, and video and screencasts, which will offer familiar but varied ways for learners to ingest and process content. Learner participation and variation is a key component also with this age group because they become bored very quickly. They have a tendency to daydream, especially if they are having to listen to the drone of a teacher's voice or if they are staring at a screen for too long. So creating learning environments that offer limited, easily digestible material in different formats that have ample opportunities for whole group, small group, and independent learning might take a little bit longer to prepare, but this model usually holds the attention of the students. Additionally, it will give way to recursive learning opportunities where students can build on their prior knowledge and the information from previous lessons in order to cement the new subject matter. The informational materials that I provide will be a combination of pre-created resources that are available from peers and/or online sharing sites and products that I generate myself. Assessment is an important tool in understanding the depth of knowledge gained by the learner. In completing these lessons, students can demonstrate their knowledge on research skills and databases by completing a series of learning activities that require them to search for specific information from school or public library databases. They can also be involved in a culminating activity where they give a brief demonstration or oration through a jigsaw-style activity to other students that guide them through the information they were able to find